Welcome to another episode of So It's Not Just Me, a podcast where we talk about how things in our lives affect our everyday. Today, I'm quite excited about this episode. It's a little bit different and we're going to have a lot of fun, I think. I'd like to introduce you all to Laura. Today, while we talk to Laura, we're going to be talking about gaming and how that creates so much more than just somebody sat with a controller or in front of a PC. So, with that, Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I was really excited to find out about this opportunity. I'm just getting to meet Joanna. We just talked for maybe 15 minutes, but so far it seems like everything's going to go great. So she found me through a mutual person who knew that I liked gaming and has known that I've been on a podcast before. So I think as someone who's been gaming since probably diapers, I'm gonna guess, or influenced by gaming to that degree. I hope that I'm qualified enough to be with you today.
Yeah, I'm sure you're more than and some. Um, so as a kid, I used to play like the N64, and we're a Nintendo family from being kids, and that always drew me to gaming even more. I absolutely love it. The colors on the screen and the characters, and just trying to do things. So, what first drew you to gaming?
It's probably the same influences. So I'm gonna mention starting young probably a couple times just because that's it's so influential in my life, and it's something that I've always done because my siblings and access to it. I'm the youngest of three. My oldest sister is 10 years older than me. So there's a lot of good music, a lot of good games, like a lot of things that were fun that was introduced to me, probably younger than some other kids might be
Right.
introduced. But I remember N64 as well. I would say we're a big Nintendo family. Like even GameCube, like when I had my own GameCube, like it was game over. I was playing Pikmin all the time, like just having fun. It was always kind of like I get to hang out with my siblings in this really cool way. Um, just seeing everybody be competitive. It was kind of this like group. My dad liked to game, then my brother, and then my sister. My mom was like, she would monitor us or hang out, but that wasn't her jam. But so it was always kind of like perfect for 4-player games. Like
Yes.
just kind of this is like the whole family hanging out.
We're a family of five as well, so I have two sisters, both younger and the eldest.
Okay.
Um, and my mum and dad liked playing on the Nintendo with us. I remember waking up in the morning and the level that we were trying so hard to complete had been done, and the next few, because they'd stayed up playing, because it gets so enthralled, I guess. And it's so fun. It's easy and fun. Um, I'm a lot more into like the retro kind of gaming, like the old style Nintendo games. I never really had a PlayStation. I was never a PlayStation girly.
Oh
Um,
man, missed out a little.
I know. We had the Xbox when I was a bit older, and I had a Mega Drive, a Sega Mega Drive for a little while.
Okay.
Um, and every now and again there'll be a game like the Sonic the Hedgehogs, or I think there was a Disney Aladdin game that I was obsessed with for a long, long time. But those kind of Donkey Kong, Super
Banjo
Mario,
Kazooie,
yeah,
Spyro, like those were huge. Those went triple platinum in our households. Like all of us would do playthroughs, like whether it was me and my brother. I would say he's the one I spent the most time connecting with gaming, like because we could just go back and forth and play single player games. Like I
yeah.
would get to a certain spot and then it'd be too tough for me, so then I'd give him the controller and he'd finish it. So,
I'd
but
do
I
the
mean, look
same
at the
with my
smile on
dad.
my face.
Yeah, I was
Good
like, Dad,
times.
come on, help me out. Do this. I can't do this. I can't beat this. I need you to help. So
Yeah,
it's that bringing everyone together that's always fun.
absolutely. But then you're playing Mario Kart or Mario Party, and then
Oh,
everybody's biggest enemy. Like no
oh my
doubts
god.
about it.
So I'm going to tell you a story. I wasn't actually going to tell you this soon, but I'm going to tell you anyway because you mentioned Mario Kart. So I had very recently, within the last year, we had a friend come round, and for Kyle's birthday, we'd bought the Switch. Um, so I got him a Switch for his birthday, and some friends came round, and they were playing Mario Kart. And these kids, 10, 12 years oldish, they've been playing for ages. First time Kyle had picked it up since he was a kid. And the controllers are so small.
Yeah, the
And
Switch
big man
Joy
hands,
Cons.
yeah, trying to do anything with these big man hands. And he did really well the first game. And then he thought to himself, do I let these 10 and 12-year-olds win and beat me? Do I show some respect to these kids, or do I say, throw that out the window? This is my house. I'm going to show you how it's done. And he won every single game,
Yeah.
every single one, without
It's
fail.
a rite of passage to be a kid and then like have somebody just come absolutely obliterate you. It can even kind
Yeah.
of ignite that fire of like, oh, I have to try harder. Like I have to do
Yeah.
better. I need to
Well,
grind.
that's exactly what it did. The kids were always ringing then, hey, can we come round? Can we do this? Can we try and play again? And they've not been since because they've moved. But it's so much fun, and bringing people together is a big thing. How do you think it has influenced, like, gaming? How has gaming influenced your life?
Um, I was explaining to somebody how I was going to be on this podcast, and they'll probably be watching this. So I was telling them, I was like, I can't think of a way how gaming almost hasn't influenced my life. Like the friends that I keep, the partners that I've had, like the way I connect with family. Like there's like that's kind of been like even now, I'm 27. Last year, we got together on old school RuneScape and we're like, hey, let's do a group Iron Man. You can do a group version now and you can have 5 people. And it was like, do we call the old squad? Like, I have another brother. He's not blood, but he grew up with us. So he actually lives with me. So he's also my roommate. So, like, I was like, it could be both brothers, my real brother, him, my sister, my dad, me. I was like, we should get the gang back together. I don't know. It's just, it is definitely made a profound impact in how I do things, who I connect with, how I spend my free time. You know, throughout the years, it changes how much it's influenced, but it, I just couldn't imagine being the same person now if I didn't have gaming to grow up on. I literally tell people, like, I was raised on like good punk rock and games. Like, it's just something that's essential to me.
I like that a lot. I really do. So Kyle is much more of a gamer than I am. Like I say, I like the retro games. I like jumping on The Sims every now and again, just because it's you can lose yourself and just you know. I like building. I'm very into architecture, so I like going on
Yes.
The Sims to build things, and it's just so
Yes.
easy. So I think that's why I like that. But Kyle has built his whole community. Other than I guess myself, I do jump on. He plays Valheim. I don't know if you've played that
Yep.
before. I'm
Familiar.
talking to like the expert here, so I'm sure you know every single game I ever mention.
I
But
may know them, but to what extent? So yes, I know Valheim. I don't even know if I've played it. I'm sure I've watched someone play it.
so I like to refer to Valheim as Viking Sims because you look like a Viking, and all I do in Valheim is build again because I like to build. But I'm also his wood collector. So if he needs wood, I'll go and chop all the trees for whatever task him and his friends are doing. And that's how we make that our community as well. And the relationships that we've made. Like even now, I've locked him in the other room so that I can do this podcast. He's most likely on WoW. I don't know. PoE, I think, is the top game at the minute that he's playing. But he's with his friends. And you know yourself, America's a huge country
Oh
and
yeah,
friends are all over the country. So he has friends Baltimore, Georgia, Alabama. So you're not going to just run around and sit and play for a bit. You're going to have to do something else. And I think that the way gaming keeps your community tight and keeps those connections is something that should never ever be frowned upon.
absolutely not. The whole community that you can build. You know, I kind of explain it like I have friends, you know, who I met in high school, maybe don't game or like there. Of course, I have friends outside of gaming, but like my daily drivers, that's kind of what I call them. Like my daily friends that I'm checking in with are usually the people that I'm gonna hop on in like Discord, hang out in the server, whether someone's playing something and streaming it and everybody else is watching, or everybody's playing something together. You know, we're grinding something out. It's really important. I mean, Discord's kind of like I don't know, like a second home, like, my two servers that I'm in all the time. It's like I'm always checking them, I'm checking the chats, seeing who's around, seeing what people want to do. And these people are all across the country. I explain to people, oh, I play D&D. And they're like, oh, do you like get together and sit around a table? And I'm like, well, no, unfortunately, we play online because two of our guys are in California, one's in Arizona, one's in Illinois. You know what I mean? We're completely spread around. We've got a guy
Yeah.
who's playing from Canada, Minnesota. Like, it's a way to connect with someone that you don't live right next to. You know what I mean? Even my
Yeah.
friends that I live an hour away from, it's hard to see them sometimes. So it's like, if they can hop online and we can just, even if it's a parallel play, that's big with me because sometimes I find that I'm not in the mood to like grind something out, or I'm just kind of chilling. Like, even if I'm just scrolling Reddit or just watching them play, like, that to me is such a level of connection and keeping in touch.
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that the outlets as well, like you say, you don't just have to sit on the same game. You can sit in a Discord server, or you can sit somewhere and do whatever you need to do. I think it's really, really good. You touched on something that I wanted that actually fits in really nice with my next question. Is about what kind of skills do you think you've developed from it, from gaming? Because I think that things like D&D, I would love to play D&D. I really would. I've never played.
Are you free on Monday nights?
Okay, so the reason why I don't play, because again, Kyle does. I've watched pretty much every episode of Critical Role. I love all that kind of things. I am so nervous that I'm going to forget what I'm doing, that I'm going to make a fool of myself, that I'm not creative enough to do something, which I know is not true.
That's the fun of
Um,
it.
exactly, yeah.
Sometimes you
Um,
gotta fuck up. Sometimes you roll nat one and you see what happens after it, and it's all gonna be okay. At the end of the
yeah,
day, if you're having fun.
I like to describe, because it's obviously true. Like when you watch or play D&D, you're creating your own stories. Now, I'm sure you know this already. A lot of therapists started using a D&D format to help kids in therapy sessions when they don't know how to express their feelings.
That, I mean, it kind of just clicked in my head because it's like, well, what options do you want to take, or what character do you want to play? And there's like reasoning behind it. Even
Yeah.
I typically am building the same type of character. I've actually reused my main original character. Like, I had artwork done for her and everything. I love her so much. I used her for a second campaign, like with a different friend group, because I just loved her so much, and I was like, I need to play more of her. But
Oh, I like it. And
yeah,
as well with D&D, I think I think tabletop games or online games like that, and again, console games, they really do help you hand-eye coordination and like problem solving.
absolutely. I like to think that I'm good at like puzzles and riddles and kind of like seeing things through. So, like, kind of figuring out like, where is this going, or why is this important now, or why are they showing me this kind of thing, and trying to connect it to later. And I'm not going to give 100% credit to gaming because I film for work, and I've been doing film and videography for a major chunk of my life. So kind of the storyboard in there. And then I'm also a pretty big avid reader. So I like to think the three of those things kind of combine to definitely help with that like analytical problem solving. Like, what do I have to do if this, then that kind of planning.
I've been told that I would like D&D because I like math, and there's a lot of that kind of problem with like if I roll this, I can only move this far, or I need to go this high up, so I need to work out what angle I need to. And that's all the kind of stuff that I like. Again, going back to the architecture, that's all the kind of things that I like and enjoy.
Yeah.
So I do think I would enjoy playing it. I'm quite a nervous person when it's things that I'm not sure about. But then again, I like to learn. So I
Yeah.
guess
I mean, you got to find the right group. I know sometimes it can be intimidating, like if everybody's a veteran and you're the new player. But honestly, the fresh blood's kind of nice because then some of us are like, we know the rules and we kind of know how things work and how they're supposed to work. And then you get a newbie who comes in and they're like, well, can I do this and that? And then you're like, oh, I would never think about that. Yeah. Oh my, like it's so fun. Like,
it's like when you start a new job and you've got a new pair of eyes.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We just added 2 people into my longest running campaign at this point. My partner and one of my best friends joined in because we moved days and scheduling kind of just worked out. And it's fun to see the dynamic, how it changes. We
Yes.
originally started as a party of 4. We lost somebody, so we were at 3 for a very long time. And then now we're up to 5. So it's like this new guy, he comes in and he kind of like, we're not, like the most moral of people in this party. We kind of like are riding that morally gray line. I'm chaotic neutral with my character, for instance. And this guy comes in and he's like, well, will that hurt that person if we take this like job or take this quest or whatever? And he's like, no, I don't think I could do it. And I'm like, shut up, shut up. It's like this whole different thing that we have to consider. And like, he's being true to his character. That's exactly how his character would
Yeah.
respond and react. It's funny. He must have heard me because he just messaged
Oh wow,
me.
that's
His
scary.
ears were burning. So it, I don't even remember what the original question, what we were talking about.
Skills, developing skills.
Yeah. I'd
I
like to
do you
think
know
that
what it
gaming
was?
gets some credit. Hand-eye coordination, I could see, because
Yes.
it takes. Have you? What's the game? Where it's like you're clicking and there's like a dance beat or whatever. Oh my gosh, I want to say OBS because it's the recording system I use all the time. But
I'm not sure.
there's a game and it's insane. Like they're making such precision. It's like clicking to a beat, but there's like different movements and stuff.
Oh,
I'll find it later and link it to you. But
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's, I mean, and you could even consider like games like Just Dance that literally takes physical
Yeah.
coordination. For me
Yeah.
it was oh man, my brain, I'm trying to think of too many
Well,
games at once.
I
Dance Dance
always like.
Revolution.
Yes, I did the dance. I was never very good, but I always liked more the rock band and the rock star and those kind with the drum kits and the Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah,
Those
absolutely.
ones.
Yeah,
And
those are,
again, it's community. It's people being with people.
yeah, yeah,
Like I think,
grinding out.
and yeah, and like I said before we started, gaming got such a bad rap for such a long time as people being hidden in the basement that it's not anymore. I remember Kyle saying um, he compared it to being on the football team. He was never on the football team, he was on the baseball and the basketball team, but he has a commitment. He's in a WoW guild and they raid at a certain time every week
Oh,
as they do.
I know.
Um oh, and it's we are raiding. Leave me alone. I don't disturb me, whatever. Which is I'm more than fine with that. But he had to explain to so many people if I had commitments on the football team or the baseball team or whatever, you wouldn't bat an eyelid. But I have commitments with the gaming community, and it's like, well, it's just a game, pause it.
Yeah,
And I think it's a lot easier now, but I think that took a long time for people to understand that it is like a sport.
yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, and I just feel like it is definitely breaking ground, and I really love to see it. The whole esports thing, like people, parents are realizing like this could actually be a career path and less
Yeah,
judgeful of their children. But those WoW raids, that's 25 people. So 24 people are waiting on somebody's time. If somebody has somebody else interrupting them or stopping them or avoiding them from playing, it's like they have to wait. It's like you have to
yeah,
be, it's just as much of a commitment as a sports team. And
yeah,
I'm sure people have lied in the past and said like some sort of gaming obligation was something else. But the people in my life, they know D&D night, it's regular, it's every week at the same time, same day. It's like, even my mom knows. She'd be like, oh, Tuesday night, you're going to go play D&D soon, right? And I'm like, yep. It's like, don't invite me to do things. Like,
yeah,
it's a standing commitment, and it's important. It's just as important as something like gaming or any other kind of club.
yes, yeah. And again, it's exactly that. It's a club. So, it's not something terrible that people need to be scared of.
Yeah. The WoW rating though, it goes crazy sometimes. It's like
So when Kyle and I first started dating, I was in England still and he was over here. So
okay.
it was already difficult, but that's a different story. But he was like 3 weeks into the relationship and he said, hey, I'm not going to be around for a little while because the new expansion packs come out and I need to level
Mm.
up for this thing. And I was like, I don't get it. Why can't you just take 10 seconds to text me? But the more I learned, the more I realized. And that's what I like. I like learning about new things. So when he started explaining what he did with WoW, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. I think at the time his guild was like number one in all of America. Um, so they were pretty high up. So I'm like, okay, I understand now.
Is he
You
retailer classic? I gotta ask. I gotta figure out where he is.
classic,
He's playing
classic.
classic. Okay.
Mhm.
What's his
Yeah.
guild name? I feel like I might know.
No, so I
Is he
think
Horde or
um,
Alliance?
he is now Horde. He used to be Alliance for a long, long time. So he used to. Is he still in it? Is it? He was in Welcome.
Okay, no. I think it was. I'm trying to think what world my partner played on. Trust me, and I know. I will tell. Like, I have friends who take off work for WoW expansions. Be
Oh,
like,
yeah, he was
oh,
there.
you know, whatever. There was one recently, and they keep emailing me about it. My friend's like, oh, I'm taking a week off work. I'm like, oh, where are you going? He's like, oh no, I'm staying at home and playing WoW. And I'm like, oh. Like, and I've joked before, like with people that say like, oh, the WoW expansion drops next Thursday or next Tuesday, whatever day it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna lose my boyfriend for a week. Like, it's just like,
Yeah,
I understand like the focus, the grind, something new. You're running GDKPs, you're doing the thing, doing the raids, 10 mans, 25 mans.
yeah.
I'm familiar. I
I
know a lot
think as
about WoW
well.
for someone who's played probably less than 24 hours of the game. Like I probably yeah, that might be right. Over the last 15, 16 years that I've known of the game, I probably played I'll say
Sometimes
less than
like,
50.
I've not played WoW, but I've watched him so much that I think I pick up a lot.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I I'm gonna go back to something that we kind of mentioned before about
Yeah.
career paths, like gaming career paths. Don't know if you've ever watched it, but I am absolutely addicted to watching the PUBG tournaments. Um, one of Kyle's friends is in it anyway, but
Oh
watching
wow.
those tournaments is like, oh my god, I just get so addicted
Yeah.
to watching other people game, and that's not something I ever thought I would be. Because, like I say, I like the retro games. I never thought I would be someone who sits and watches other people game, but I really do enjoy it, and it's
Oh
so
man.
fun to watch and support these other people that you've never met before.
Yeah. So for me with the esports, it was really big for me when I was in high school. I started playing League of Legends in like 2011, maybe late 2010. So that's like a huge, huge portion of my life. Kind of crazy to think about. But the tournaments, like season one, season two, season three, like esports. What's the big one? The big tournaments that they would have every year. It was like always on. We were tracking it, rooting for our favorite teams, and I feel
Yeah,
that way about sports too, because it's like when you're seeing someone, like to me it's equivalent when you're seeing somebody who's perfected their craft and they are the best at everybody, like they're the top group of
yeah,
athletes or gamers in that category. There's so much respect that has to go into it.
yeah, yeah.
Like my partner, he actually participated for StarCraft 2. I'll give him a little shout out. In 2018, he won DreamHack Atlanta for playing StarCraft 2. So it's like
Nice.
I wish I knew him back then. Like I would have been his number one cheerleader. Like I would have been going crazy if I was there. But like to me, it's like that's so cool. Like he got to travel, he got to play the game that he loved, a game he's been
Yeah,
playing his whole life, meet these other athletes, like gamers, athletes. I'm a big sports fan too, so those might get intertwined a little bit. But just respecting and you know appreciating somebody who's become the best.
yes, yes, yeah. And there is so many other career paths as well, like development and creativity that is involved in that as well, which is it's so exciting, so exciting.
Yeah,
How
it's
do you?
definitely rapid growth. It's amazing
Yeah,
to see. And with that becomes more acceptance, less of the basement dwelling gamers that people might have thought of 15, 20, 30 years ago.
yes, yeah. I think that kind of thing came to light as well with Stranger Things because they're all playing the D&D games, and it made it cool for a little while again, watching all these kids play. D&D on Stranger Things. That was I enjoyed that.
That was a really good
Um,
connection. Yeah, it definitely kind of made people see, because you don't know what you don't know. So
yeah,
when you hear somebody talk about playing a game, four of us sit around and we're playing around a board, it's like some people don't realize like the story and the depth and what you can build off of that. So
yes,
I think Stranger Things was kind of a really cool insight into what a lot of people might not have known of, and
yeah,
I think made a huge resurgence for D&D specifically.
yeah,
I didn't
definitely.
play before Stranger Things, so that probably indirectly or directly was an influence to my knowledge, you know.
I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit. Did you watch any of the Critical Role series that came onto Amazon? See,
Oh no, I haven't seen Vox Machina. I have not, and it's on my list. I'm bad about, I don't like watching things that aren't really like out yet. Like
right.
it's, so I'm kind of waiting for more to come out. I know season one's complete, so I definitely, it's
I
on my
think
radar.
season 2 is complete as well, is it not?
Good, because
I believe so.
that now that I'm like, oh, okay, there's two seasons, then I might actually like be able to watch it. But man, I'm not good about things. It's like, oh, watch this. There's only 4 episodes out so far, and I'm like, I'll wait.
No. That's what we're
Like
doing.
I'll wait.
This is completely off subject. We're doing that with House of Dragon right now. We're House of the Dragon. We're waiting for it all to come out before we
Yeah,
watch it.
yeah,
But the Critical Role, knowing where the story came from, and that it's just people being
yes,
creative, and
yes,
what happened with a dice roll has created this whole story that is such a good story for anyone who likes that kind of genre. Anyway, it's a really, really good story. It's really interesting.
yeah.
It's really fun.
It's based
Um,
off campaign one of theirs, right?
yeah, and I
So
never watched campaign one.
me either. That's what I was kind of wondering. Maybe I should watch campaign one and then try the show. I've watched campaign three. I'm not super updated. I don't think I've seen.
So I did campaign two. I watched all of campaign two. Loved that one. And then I started campaign three, but then we moved and everything kind of got lost while I was moving. So I need to pick that back up. But I didn't watch any of, like I said, I didn't watch any of campaign one. I think some of campaign one is related to three, like some of similar
Yes.
characters, from what I can remember. So it's good.
Yeah.
Should give it
Yeah.
a
No,
try.
it's been on my radar, and I have a feeling this topic will kind of tie back into another question.
I think so too. Um, how do you balance gaming with your other life responsibilities?
For me, gaming is very cyclical. So, for example, League of Legends that I mentioned, for a long time I played it like all throughout the year or whatever. But then, kind of like once I got out of high school and I had, college and a job and responsibilities to juggle as things became more serious, I guess you could say, um, it became more cyclical for sure. There would be like periods of time, like 3 months or 6 months, where it would kind of be like my main focus or my main hobby, and then there'd be periods of times where I wouldn't play, or maybe I would watch somebody else play.
Right.
um, and that's still kind of true now. Like there'll be like a lot of the games that I play now are less solo gaming and more with friends. So if somebody's like, oh, let's get on and grind this, or we'll play this, or like let's do a new run through, or oh, I'm gonna get a Minecraft realm, and then we all play Minecraft for 2 weeks. It's like it's the balance comes in a longer term in some kind of ways for me. But of course, there's plenty of nights where maybe I'm up too late and then I might lose out on a little bit of sleep, but I don't think it's detrimental. There's balance to everything. You gotta ride the wave of, all right, put this to rest. We can come back later. Most of these games, you're
Yeah.
not going to lose your opportunity to come back and continue it, even though it's super exciting in the moment.
I sometimes, when I'm seeing the games going and things, my brain goes into overdrive. I don't know about yours because obviously you're focusing on it, but all the colors and the flashing and everything going on, sometimes I have to take a step back and just wait a second so that I can catch up because there's so much going on in some of the games. It boggles my mind, but in a good way. It makes me
Yeah.
want to carry on still.
Yeah.
Um, what misconceptions do you think people may have about gaming and the gaming culture?
Um, that we all smell. No, it's just kidding. I do think, let's see, a big thing, and actually you've mentioned it. I think a misconception is people are like, if I'm not good at something, then people might not want to play with me, or I shouldn't play it, or I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
That's a big thing with me too. I don't know. I think people would rather play with somebody who might be a lower skill level but are a nice, funny person to get along with, someone that's respectful, than to play with someone who's really good but really toxic. So I think
Yes.
that's a misconception about like whether people could join in. I don't know if that's the right way.
Have you ever
I don't know.
found, um, because you're a girl, it makes any difference with being a gamer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like there's definitely times where it'll benefit me. People give me extra things or want to get my attention or like kind of go easy on me or whatever. And there's been times where it's just extremely rough, just off rip. There's been times where like in League, for example, I picked a champion and someone saw my name. My gamer name has my real name in it. So you can
Right.
tell, okay, her name's Laura. So like, oh, try not to suck just because you're a girl. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? And then like I ended up playing flawlessly that game. And I was like, how is
Oh,
that for you? You know what I mean? Like it really kind of like I try not to let it bother me now as I've gotten older, but there's sometimes unwanted attention due to the fact that you're a girl. But a lot of people now, like I would say I can't tell if it's a maturity thing within me, within the community itself, or like I know a lot of guys that are like, oh, I always pick the girl character because the hitbox is smaller. That's literally why they play. Like, oh yeah, well if you pick their hitbox is literally smaller. If it's 25% of the size, you're not going to get hit with 1 out of 4 strikes that would hit a bigger
yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah. That makes
So
sense.
it it's I think it's becoming a little bit easier, especially as like streaming becomes really popular and other like factors, videos, short form, long form takes place. People are used to seeing this, but yeah, there's a lot of misogyny in the world, and that comes out in this male dominated culture for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Have you ever used it as like a stress relief?
Oh
Like if
yeah,
you're having a bad day?
absolutely. Yeah, it's a distraction tool in a lot of different ways. It can kind of help you escape the counterpart. You can't get too far into it. You know what I mean? Like you can't just completely dissociate and lose yourself. Like you still gotta kind of check in with reality. But I can be having like a really horrific day and that like just crappy mood, like don't want to do anything, don't want to deal with anybody, and then somebody will invite me like, oh well, hop on, let's play this, or do you want to watch me play, or whatever it may be. And then like in 10-15 minutes I'm hooting and hollering and like laughing, having a great time. So it
Yes.
really can do a 180 for me, just completely flip something I may be struggling with. But then also it's kind of nice to like, it'll help you kind of like step back and take that breath, because it's like if something's right in your face, you know, in real life, something's aggravating you or stressing you, some sort of trigger or whatever it may be, if you can kind of take a step back, get online, maybe solve a puzzle or something, kind of use your brain in a different way, you're more likely to come up with a solution or just kind of open your eyes a little bit to the scenario. So I think that's really important too, as far as
Yeah.
like using gaming as a tool.
Do you think that gaming and being a gamer, not just from the community, but gaming itself, has helped during any difficult times?
Yes, for sure. This it's been a staple for me. Sometimes during bad mental health or things that I've been struggling with in real life, just to have the community and have the people and have something to look forward to, you know, clear goals. Sometimes in games, it's like Portal 2, for example. It's like, all right, I got to get this box to that point. It's like being able to work on something simple but intricate, but detached from reality, kind of gives you that same insight that I was talking about for being for stress relief. Like it can kind of just help you refocus a little bit. I think I mentioned this already, but like solo gaming isn't as prevalent for me now. Some throwback games, like uh, just released, like I think I mentioned Pikmin earlier. They released Pikmin 1 through 4 on the Switch. 4's new, so I got the 1 and 2 bundle. So it's like that I was good doing a little bit, but that's like for the nostalgia. But a lot of times, like if nobody's on, I'm like, okay, I'll go read. But I think bringing me close to people, finding a friend or an outlet or having something to look forward to.
Yeah. How do you think it's evolved over the years?
I think it's a lot more relaxed and accepted for sure. Are you talking about like overall or for me specifically?
Whichever you'd like to answer, whichever you'd.
Hmm. I find that I think I've said this, but personally, I'm more of like I want to chill. So playing like Sims, like you mentioned, or City Skylines. I don't know if you've ever played that.
Yep.
That's a really good builder game. It's really, really fun. Something that you can kind of just like sink some time into or,
Yeah.
listen to some music, just kind of relax and unwind versus when I was younger, I would like grind out games, playing ranked on League and trying to, improve constantly, like sitting there and like going on losing streaks of like 4 or 5 games and like really like committing, trying to dive deep. And then now if anybody starts like getting kind of in a stinky mood or whatever, I'm like, all right, let's switch it up. Let's do a different game or hop on this or just kind of let's all watch a movie or something like that. So it's changed. I think I mentioned the maturity. I think that's part of it too, which
Big
is so
thing.
funny to me because like looking back, I connected with somebody a couple of years ago who I hadn't spoke with since high school, and I asked him. I was like, "Oh, do you still game?" That was something that was so important to both of us. We both played games separately together, and they're like, "No, you got to grow up at some point." And I'm like, what? Like the conversation pretty much stopped after that because I was
Wow.
like, what do you mean? I was like, I still game. Like this is gonna be essential to my life. I can't imagine not having this outlet, not having this tool, not having this
No.
resource, not having this connection. It's all of those things and more.
So I don't know if I've told you this. Kyle and I are 38, so we're 10 years older than just over 10 years older than you. And
Hmm.
I don't think that we will ever stop gaming in some sort. Obviously, I won't be the same extent as Kyle just because he is more involved than me. But that may change. You never know. I don't think it'll ever make a huge difference between in our lives. I don't think we're ever gonna say that's it. We're too old to game now. I think
Yeah, that's
we'll be
ridiculous.
we'll be teaching our kids how to farm for whatever we need for the next challenge and mission. If it was up to Kyle, that's for sure.
Well, and I know you've mentioned wanting to start a family, and like to me, that's such a great way to connect because I did that. You know what I mean? So being able to like teach your kid how to play, and
Yeah,
it's the same as sports, like we mentioned
yeah.
earlier. It's like just as important to teach your kid baseball, which I'm sure would be a thing. Gaming goes along with that too. It's just what are you gonna do when it's raining out? Okay, well, we'll play some games.
You're not trying to bully my house, that's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Like,
No, I like it. Yeah, yeah. Um, I know that this is something that we spoke about very briefly before we came on started recording, but it's been going through my mind since you mentioned it earlier. And I think it is really important that we talk about it a little bit, and it's being safe online. I know you had a little bit of a story. Are you happy to share that with us?
yeah, absolutely. I wanted to check with you because a negative thing that can happen, something that's very real, is grooming. So
Mhm.
there's been instances where somebody online, maybe they can be misrepresenting themselves. They can be trying to figure out where you are, figuring out trying to harm you. In my case, in my scenario, I'm very fortunate that that wasn't the case. But looking back, seeing myself as a 13 and 14-year-old girl, having a guy who was interested in me at 18, 19 years old, potentially wanting to meet up, getting my address so he could mail me like a package, ended up being not nefarious, but I mean, that so quickly could have been. And
Yes.
I think something that you mentioned is like, now I think the parameters of being safe online is maybe a little more understood. But back then, I didn't have anybody to ask. I mean, I doubt that I would have gone to my mom and been like, "Hey, is this okay?" Like, because I don't know, like, it's kind of like, "Oh, he's my friend," or maybe more or whatever. But just keeping safe, making sure you're, vetting people out. I think I knew him for a decent amount of time before that happened, so I didn't think anything wrong of it. But who knows? You
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
And not to say be scared, because I've flown across the country multiple times to meet friends that I've met online who I never would have been friends with before. Friends from Boston, I've flown California, Illinois recently, meeting up with people that I met through gaming. It's still a community and a way to meet people and have fun and really make these connections, but just be safe.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Really important to get out there and tell people you need to be and you're 14 years old, you're not going to want to ask your parents things because you think you know everything and you think they don't understand, but they really, really do. But there's always someone in your friendship group that you can talk to and just say, "Hey, does this sound suspicious, or does this sound real?
Run it
Do
by
you think,
somebody. Yeah.
yeah,
Just
roll a
keep in
dice."
touch. Which, unfortunately, a lot of scenarios where grooming may take place, there's a lot of isolation.
Yes.
So I was very lucky to, like I said, not have to deal with that. But the little bit of insight that I did get, looking back on it now, I'm like, why was I even, why was he even? You know what I mean? It just becomes this whole thing. So a
Yes. Yeah.
little bit of a heavier
How
topic as far as gaming goes, but it's
but
something
it's
that's
important.
prevalent, especially
Yes.
being a young person, girl, guy, whatever, being
Yes.
young and just maybe not understanding other people's intentions. Just check in with
Being a
your
little
friend.
bit naive to the world still. Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you see the future of gaming going?
Oh man, it's only up from here. Like, I don't know. I get so excited. Look at the smile on my face. Like thinking about like e-cafes like popping up, or like I
Mhm.
see like I want to see more third spaces. That's something that we've lost, especially with like COVID and how things have progressed. Like thinking about when you were a kid, you could go to the mall and hang out or go wherever and hang out. A lot of that's not as allowed or common now.
Yeah.
So seeing like, especially younger generation, being able to like connect through gaming and then like having a place, oh, my mom can come drop me off and then we can play. I don't know if you've seen these cafes or internet cafes or whatever, where like there'll be tons of PCs, there'll be gaming consoles, there'll be like sometimes they have like laser tag, which is pretty cool. So being able to kind of like spend that time in away from home or school or home and work. Like I really
Yeah.
want to see more third spaces implemented overall. But I think gaming is a really good like excuse for that to happen. Maybe for
Yeah,
lack of a better
definitely.
word, but kind of inspiring that. So I only see it becoming more and more accepted. I think the stigma is almost day by day. Like there's older people that I know um, who are like, yeah, I picked up gaming at 40 years old because my kid got into it or someone showed me something, and then it becomes this outlet, this connection, this release for them too.
I remember at Christmas, going back down to like the dance kind of things, we used to always get the dance mat or the games out that were multiplayer. We'd give my nana a glass of wine and she'd be up there before anyone else on the dance mat, playing the drums, whatever she could get her hands on. And that is one of my favorite memories, is the the involvement. I think that the whole topic of this podcast really has gone around how gaming brings everyone together. And I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because who you surround yourself with, the friends that you have, you
Yeah.
know, it's very, so important.
Yeah. And I know a lot of my podcasts do have kind of more um a deeper tone to some of them, I guess. But this one, I feel, is one of the most important ones I've done. And I don't know if I've smiled so much going through a podcast, not in a bad way as
Yeah,
with the other ones, but I've really, really enjoyed this.
good.
Um, Before I let you go, do you have any advice or any final thoughts for anyone who's hopefully still listening?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So know your limits, be patient. Um, if you're someone who kind of brute forces things or maybe like works your way through, be ready to see a lot of like the quick save screen, getting back to that same point and like going through it again. Just remember to be flexible, try things differently. Um, if you're playing like the tabletop TTRPGs, tabletop role playing game, or board games in person, friends around a table, talk. I mean, a lot of people kind of just sit there and worry. I think you even mentioned, you're like, well, what if I don't do this right or this or that? It's like, you can be above board. I mean, the TTRPGs, there's a level of like, is this metagaming or not? Like, find a group who you guys can all get on the same level. I mean, I know groups who do this on their head, and this means like above the board, which means this is me, Laura, as a person speaking, not Zay, a rogue, not like character playing. And it's just kind of like being able to communicate and having fun,
Yeah.
you know, taking the challenges. I think I've tried to convince everybody in my life to play D&D. It's got whatever you're looking for, like I promise you. I actually have a little story, if it's okay to share. It
Of course.
relates. You've sent over a couple questions of like things to go through, and I wanted to mention the profound moment. I think we skipped over that a little bit.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is something that's so profound. That's a great way to put it. Like, something that has happened in one of my D&D campaigns. There's a lot of backstory and a lot of context to really kind of make it make sense, but you become so close to these people. So there's a character who was kind of tricked into protecting my character. His name is Swak. My character's name is Zay. So Swak was kind of like, he was drunk at a bar and met the wrong person, and she kind of bound his life to Zay and was saying like, protect her. It was important to this character's storyline and yada yada. Like I said, a lot of context. Let me try to narrow it down. And over time, they created this friendship. So when this person joined this campaign, my friend who plays Swak, I didn't know him. He knew other people. So it was kind of like, as our characters got to know each other, him and I got to know each other a little bit too. And then we started hanging out after D&D games or before on our own time. So like, as the character also progressed, Swak was then protecting Zay because he cared about her. And he still kind of had this like oath bond to like respect, but there was an instance where something was going to happen and my character was going to die, and he sacrificed himself. And my character took it like so hard because she's like, no, this isn't it. So like, I started talking to the deity that was controlling us, and she was like, I'm going to take his body. And I was like, let me put something. I had an unbreakable arrow, just a little trinket item I did not use, but I found, and I left it with his body. And then he gets taken to this other side, and he goes through and he has to decide, give up everything I've ever wanted to go back to be with this character, like make this choice to not hunt in the ever wilds of the afterlife or whatever, or go back and be completely different, go through a lot of pain and still be with this character. And he chose that, and he came back and he pledged his life to me and the deity that was riding over us. And I'm getting chills. I was crying during this campaign, like he's dying, like, and it just clicked for me. I was like, these emotions are so real. Like this moment was so special. I was like, I need to write a book or something. Like I literally, even now I'm like getting worked up over it a little bit. Just like the way that connection, the things that happened. You were talking about the Legends of Vox Machina, the way that like how a dice roll changed the game. I was like, I want to write my own book. I want to do a create your own adventure, but you actually roll a die at certain points, and it's like if you roll a 15 to 20, this is the outcome. If you roll a 1 to 5, this is your outcome, and then kind of like base the story off that, because sometimes it's an outside force, you don't get to do your own thing. And I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, you don't have to commit to one ending. You could write like 8 of them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That was something that was so just like eye opening, so cool. Meant a lot.
I, listening to you, I lost myself a little bit because the way that you explained that then was just so. I felt like I was part of the story, and
That was
that's
a
what I
very
really.
abbreviated version. I didn't want to take up too
Yeah,
much time.
no, you can take up as much time as you need to. I don't mind. But that's one of the reasons why I love gaming and why I love tabletop D&D. You know, all of it, because the stories and the feelings are just so real, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of the best things that you can do, in my opinion. It's one of the best things you can do.
Yeah. So I wanted to share that. That
Yeah,
it
I'm very
ended
glad
up
you did.
connecting. It connected me and that person outside of D&D too, and he's actually one of the people that I've gone to visit and meet in real life. That's such a cool feeling. I've done it probably 5 times. I don't know, maybe more, but it's just amazing to know that like sometimes people feel lonely, and you got to realize it's not just me, and find your people online.
Yes,
It really, there's people out there.
yes. Thank you so much for coming on. Um,
Thank you for having me. I had such a blast. This was
Good.
so
I'm so
great.
glad. Now, anyone who doesn't know, I have never met Laura before. We did say at the beginning the only time we've ever physically spoke was just before this podcast. We've been going back and forth for maybe just over a week now.
Yeah, just
And
text. Yeah.
yeah, just texting back and forth with a few ideas, getting to know each other a little bit better. And I'm hoping, I'm putting her on the spot a little bit now. I'm not even going to look at the camera when I say it, but I'm hoping she's going to come back
Thousand
because
percent.
we,
I hope to see you guys.
um,
Hopefully, people like this episode. Hopefully, people like me
yeah,
because you
yeah,
can
I
explain.
definitely. So me and Laura have a love of something else other than gaming, which is baseball. Everyone knows that I am now a baseball junkie. Um, and everyone who does or doesn't know is will know now. I am trying to do all of the baseball parks as quickly as I can, as cheaply as I can, because it's expensive.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but Laura also has a love for baseball and sport, as we mentioned a couple of times. So I'm hoping in a few weeks, maybe once I'm back from my trip, we'll be able to get another one scheduled and we can talk about some more things that we love and get some more happy faces out there.
The way my heart dropped, like when you mentioned we were texting back and forth and you mentioned baseball and going to all 30 parks, I was like, oh, me too. Like, that's a goal of mine as well. Me and my brother, we want to go see all
Yeah,
30. So, yeah,
we've
I
we've
would
done
be
three.
elated, absolutely elated
Yeah,
to help you
so
out
I
with
think
that.
that's on the card. So watch this space, coming soon. I'm not too sure when this episode's coming out. Depends how long I take to edit, but well by the time this comes out we'll have at least two more ballparks off my list, so
Maybe
that's
we
gonna be
could do it
fun.
live after catching a game together.
We should. That'd be good. That'd be really good. But
Yeah, just some
you saw how
brainstorming.
yeah you saw how passionate we are about gaming. My baseball is more passionate than gaming, but that's not a bad thing. So it's gonna be a great episode. um with that, I'm gonna say thank you, call it a day, and hopefully we'll be back soon.
Hopefully, see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.